Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called The Male Leads Were Stolen by the Extra. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! In the opening scene, a blonde gentleman who looks like a bad guy confronts a gorgeous purple-haired lady in her bedroom. He confesses to her that he has fallen in love with a girl named Grace and wants to break off their engagement immediately. Selonia Vacian, the only daughter of Duke Vacian, is Ian's fiancée. She seems confused by his sudden confession that he wants to marry Grace right after she woke up from her coma. He didn't even bother to inquire about her well-being, so I can tell he's trash. Our girl has actually been in a novel as Selonia for 9 months already. The novel is called Surviving the Demon King, and it's your run-of-the-mill romantic fiction in which the protagonists face off against the most formidable adversary imaginable, the Demon King. Unlike other transmigration stories, Selonia does not alter the plot, and events unfold as they should, with her as one of the Empire's healers and the novel's female lead, and Ian Cherville as her fiancé and male lead. In the story, they were in a political marriage and harbored no feelings for each other. However, one day, the resurrected Demon King's news compelled the Empire to form an elite force to vanquish the evil king. Ian, the leader of the Imperial Palace's Fire Knights, led the party, which included Selonia, who willingly came along for the nation's peace, Rehev Hetzel, a holy knight, and Makleon, who inherited the dragon's blood. While Rehev and Makleon had feelings for Selonia, it wasn't until the expedition that Ian and Selonia understood how much they loved each other. As a result, the two men simply resolved to devote their lives to helping the female lead and wishing her happiness. The four heroes ultimately vanquish the Demon King, and the story's protagonists ought to get married. That was the intended happy ending. They did defeat the Demon King, but Selonia spent the following 3 months in an unexplained coma. Our girl transmigrated just in time for the expedition, so it was a difficult journey for her, but she made it through by relying on Ian. That is why his abrupt demand for a split is unexpected. But life happens, so she agrees, but in exchange, she demands the alimony she wants. Her expression is one of acceptance rather than heartbreak. However, she still refuses to let the betrayal go overlooked. I already like her attitude. This guy dares to seem dissatisfied that Selonia is requesting alimony, which our girl does not care about, but Ian demands a written agreement until she can figure out what she wants. He treats her with such distaste, but at least she discovered his actual colors before marriage. Once they've written out their agreement, Selly urges Ian to come closer with a smile. Just as he does, our girl chooses to throw him a great punch in the face. Not even a slap. Go, girl! Ian becomes enraged as Selly's savvy reminds him that he deserves it, leading him to simply go. This is nothing for a guy who cheated when his girl was in coma. After he leaves her room, Selly expresses her true feelings and is disappointed since she had hoped to finally have a real family after never having had parents or friends in her previous life. Having fallen ill at a young age and dying alone, Selly now relishes her new life, surrounded by adoring family, friends, and a boyfriend. Even though she no longer has a lover, Selly cherishes her new life because not everyone can be a main character, let alone the daughter of a prominent duke. So she decides not to dwell on it, since she still has Rehev and Makleon, with whom she shared life and death on the front lines and who are her priceless beloved friends. However, after a few days, the handsome blue-haired Rehev pays Selonia a visit and surprises her by stating that he wishes to revoke his pledge to her in order to serve another lady. And you might wonder who she is. Guess who it is again? Grace Bennett! Who in the novel world is this Grace? Selly remains silent as she notes what's happening. She and Ian recently broke up, and now her friend is taking back his promise. She has never loved Ian, despite his kindness to her, most likely because she's not the real Selonia. So she believes she can take Rehev's departure as well, but she is disappointed. Still, as Rehev's friend, she points out to him that Grace will soon be Ian's fiancée. But he blushes and claims he is already aware. Selonia then gets chills as he reveals he just wants to protect Lady Grace, which is exactly what he declared to her before. That's so messed up! Rehev is her first friend in this world, so the fact that he's pulling back his vow to her means they will never see each other like before, which makes her sad. Poor girl. The breakup with Ian is fine, since she has no feelings for him, but a formed friendship is different. But then Selonia chooses to express her gratitude to Rehev and wish him nothing but happiness, which makes him seem quite glum. And they shake hands to end their knight and lady pledge. Nah, a pledge is a pledge. This man isn't worthy to be a knight anymore. Following Rayev's departure, she ceases to wear her beaming expression and is now really concerned of what happened while she was unconscious. The novel was going well until she collapsed after they slain the Demon King. And during the time she was in a coma, the male leads fell for another woman? How ridiculous! Now that she thinks about it, there is one more male lead, and speaking of that guy, Makleon appears. He quickly requests that she return the heart he gave her since he intends to give it to someone else. Our girl is starting to feel increasingly uneasy about everything, to the point where she is no longer shocked if Grace Bennett is the recipient. Makleon is taken aback that Selonia is aware of this, which makes Selonia chuckle hysterically as she figures out that the male leads fell obsessed with a character who has never showed up in the novel. In simple terms, an extra. My heart hurts for our girl, but yeah, I think this is not a coincidence. Everything about Grace seems off. During their expedition to confront the Demon King, Selonia fell off a cliff, and it was Makleon who transformed into an incredible dragon and rescued her. After returning to his human form, he became so stressed out that she nearly died, while she awkwardly explained that she was merely trying to pick up Silkia flowers, which have remarkable healing effects. After calming down and apologizing for his harsh behavior, he voiced his concern about how delicate human life is, so he chose to give her his heart. It is possible for Dragon's heart to provide protection to its owner, yet if he were to remove it, he would lose a significant fraction of his power, which is something that he is not concerned about as long as he's able to protect Selly. He sounded so genuine at the time, but now look at that menacing expression demanding his heart back, which makes Selly sigh. She instructs Ella, her personal maid, to fetch her jewelry box, and as they wait, Makleon wonders if she knows to why he wants it back. However, Selly remains unaffected and simply states that there's no use in holding onto it when its rightful owner demands its return. But to be honest, she truly wants to ask, but she's afraid of discovering that their 6 months together are a lie to keep the novel going. Makleon then attempts to strike up a conversation, amazed that she actually kept the dragon heart in a safe place, to which Selonia simply and dejectedly responds that it's because his heart is precious. After hearing her response, he feels bad and wants to explain everything, but he is interrupted when Ella shows up with her treasure box. Selonia has never been hurt since she received his heart, with the exception of a 3-month coma, but now she has no choice but to return it. She sincerely thanks him for protecting her, and to put an end to the uncomfortable feeling, she simply tells him to be careful and declines to walk him out. The Makleon who appeared so demanding earlier is now feeling sorry, but he says nothing and departs. Except for haughty Ian, the second leads appear to be feeling guilty. After he goes, Ella notices her master's visibly distressed expression. Well, to put Selonia's emotions into perspective, it's as if she's gone to great lengths to get the ingredients and prepare the dish, but someone had ended up eating it. So our girl isn't merely upset, she's enraged right now. Definitely not the type of girl to wallow in self-pity. Love it. She can't believe she went through so much on that mission just to have that happy ending, but all of her efforts vanish like a bubble overnight. Imagine being obligated to play some sort of hero and getting nothing in the end? I could never. Anyway, the good news is that Selonia asks Ella to reach out to the finest guild to investigate Grace Bennett, as she is curious as to whether everything is a coincidence or perhaps something else. Yes, time for some digging. The dream that Selonia had that night takes place on their expedition. It was raining that day, so she slipped, but her 3 Prince Charmings were quick to offer her their hands. She naturally grabs her fiancé's hand while sensing the other 2 lads' bittersweet feelings. But now it's all a distant memory. Today, she asks Ella about her father, and it looks like the Duke is a simp father to Selonia. Following the death of his loving wife, Duke Galloway Vacian showered his only daughter with his undying affection. Having a reliable father is a relief, though. When she transmigrated to the novel, the original Selonia had already agreed to join the expedition party, but her father was adamantly opposed, given her importance to him. However, the Duke's affection for his daughter has a drawback. He can't really win against Selonia, which is why she ended up joining the party. According to Ella, when she returned unconscious, her father sought the help of renowned doctors, healers, and priests, but no one could wake her up, leaving the Duke in distress. So when she eventually wakes up, her father gives her a warm embrace, something she hasn't ever felt before, a father's love. And not long after hearing Ian's demands for a breakup, her father nearly stormed into the Chevelle house with his sword, but luckily their household stopped him. The Duke is unconcerned about that guy because the engagement is a contract made by Selonia's grandfather. A union between the Vacian family, a prestigious family whose riches have surpassed the royal treasure, and the Cherville family, who are respected and have a significant political ties, is something that even the Emperor is frightened of, but it will never happen anymore. Glad her dad isn't thirsty for power and letting their marriage go. She is presently eating a meal with her father, who is aware that she has requested information about Grace, and is wondering if she still has feelings for Ian the cheater. With the finest being one of the family enterprises and the greatest guild in the Flanagan Kingdom, it is not surprising that the guild has informed her father about her request. They are really rich. Information is power and money is the family slogan, and the guild was formed during the founding of the Vacian family. As a result, they have been watching over the family ever since. Selonia declares that she has no affection for Ian and only wants to confirm something, given that Ian, Rayev, and Mokleon all have feelings for Grace. She finds it very difficult to accept that the friends she thought were for life were all made up, or merely for the sake of the storyline, because the affection she showed to all of them were sincere. Either Grace is involved in some way, or the three male leads' devotion to her are shallow. Speaking of that girl, Grace is now being lovey-dovey with Ian, who sweetly asks her where she wants to go. She then joyfully expresses her wishes to have desserts at Roblanc, which is Selonia's favorite shop, so Ian tries to push her to go somewhere nearby. However, this disturbing girl changes her expression and asks whether Roblanc is a spot he used to visit with his ex, Lady Selonia, and feels that he does not want to go there since it would bring back his pleasant old memories, prompting her to walk away. Ian panics, so he tells her that they can head to the store immediately, and assures her that Selonia is no longer important to him. This makes her happy, so she agrees to accompany him. But look at that evil expression she's hiding! Can we assume that she's controlling the male leads? Whatever it is, your time will come, witch! Meanwhile, Selonia is reading a newspaper article that states that she is in despair as a result of her broken engagement. This is something she could care less about because after 9 months of transmigration, this is her first taste of being a lady. She is enjoying life to the fullest, taking it easy and enjoying a cup of tea in her garden. Who needs guys anyway? Having transmigrated in time for the mission, her only experiences in this new life are sleeping on the ground, showering in a freezing pond, and eating rotting bread for days. So she will now enjoy a life of comfort. Ella then informs her that the Emperor will be having a congratulatory party for her. The 3 other heroes have already had a victory celebration after slaying the Demon King, but because she was unable to attend, they are throwing one for her. Selonia then recalls her letter, which Ella confirms she has already sent to Ian. It is about her alimony, and she is confident Ian will rush to her when he reads it because she demands something that is so important to him. Oh, what could that be? After that, a maid appears to inform Selly that the finest guild leader is at the mansion, which surprises her given that it has just been a day since she requested information about Grace. Gileian, a pretty handsome man with silver hair, is the leader of the guild at the age of 24. His looks could be main lead potential, but let us see what his personality is like. Selonia believes that the information for their guild is reliable, but when she opens the document, she gets startled. All she receives is a single piece of paper with information, so she decides to ask Gileian to confirm if this is all they acquire, which the man verifies. One interesting thing that Gileian discovers about Grace is that she met with the 3 men quite frequently in the 3 months following the victory celebration, but the men were the ones who initiated these meetings. He then provides her with a list of the party guests, which Selonia finds nothing unusual about, so she concludes that she should finally accept that those male leads simply changed their hearts over the course of 3 months. Ella tries to lift Selonia's spirits after her meeting with Gileian by proposing a trip to Roblanc, where she hasn't had cake in a while. This improves her mood, and she grins at Ella before deciding to eat to help ease her sadness. Ella, best girl. Unfortunately for our girl, Rayev is waiting outside the cake shop when they arrive. She can't ignore him, so she asks what he's doing outside. But his expression is weird, as if he's seen someone he shouldn't have. Rayev stutters, explaining that she should not go inside since the sweets she wants are all sold out. But Selonia sees through him and remarks that he's still terrible at lying. She knows Rayev's habit of glancing away when lying, which he's doing just now, and she realizes Lady Grace must be inside. Knowing his habits is an obvious indication of how close they were in the past, this surprises the knight, who apologizes, and Ella asks if she should just buy the sweets for her instead. But our girl isn't so cowardly, so she declares she'll eat inside. Why should our girl avoid Grace when she should be embarrassed to meet Selonia after she took her fiancé? Duh! Also, she is eager to meet Grace in person, but just as she's about to open the door, Grace opens it from the inside, smirking maliciously. Her face is so disturbing that it shocks me. Grace then smiles at her, declaring her desire to finally see her, while Selonia returns her gaze without expression, but now believes this girl is more shameless than she thought. Or is this the girl they abandoned me for? Is my other interpretation. Guys, how to beat a skank through the screen, cause I'ma back our girl up. During their battle in the demonic lair, Selonia recalled that Ian had proposed to take her to Roblanc with him once everything was over, an offer she had happily accepted. Disgustingly, he broke that promise and went ahead and brought his new girlfriend there. Anyway, back to the present, Grace is quite friendly with our girl, even calling her by name, to which Selonia savagely responds that she does not know who she is, so she must introduce herself first. Well done! She better know her boundaries! This surprises Grace, so she has no choice but to properly greet her and introduce herself, admitting that because she knew Selonia as one of the 4 heroes, she acts friendly instinctively without realizing it. Selonia gives Grace a fake smile and argues that she did it for peace, not fame, making Grace feel ashamed, while Rayev stops Selonia from being harsh. The heck? What's wrong with telling the truth? Then Ian appears, infuriating Selonia even more, because, of all people, this guy should not have brought his lady to a spot that he knows is his ex's favorite. After that, Grace clings to Ian while appearing terrified, which causes Ian to yell at Selonia and warn her about being impolite to his fiancée. The situation finally hits home for Selonia, who decides she can finally let go of the male leads because, whatever their reasons were, it was they who changed, not her. She then responds to Ian with a straight face, criticizing his thick face while roaming around her favorite place and reminding him that he should not have shamelessly paraded around, flaunting his affair, considering the numerous people watching. Ian is unable to respond and feels ashamed, so they walk away. However, Grace decides to turn around, smilingly stating that she and Ian will be engaged soon and that Selonia shouldn't fret, because the two of them look pretty similar. Gosh, in your dreams? How dare you, kickable, snappable, strangable, basic girl, compare yourself to Selly? Makleon, who has been observing Grace from above, transforms back into his human form and goes to be with Grace, Ian, and Rayev as Selonia remains and watches them go. Even though they had a strong connection in the past, Selonia is grateful to them for showing her that she needs to close her heart to them now. Our girl is too kind, because if it were me, I would… forget about them. Where is our real male lead? Please make our girl happy. As Rayev stands there by himself, staring at the pair from a distance, Makleon observes that he is downcast, so he reminds Rayev that this is the result of his choice. Rayev admits that Makleon is right since nothing has changed for him. Unlike with Selonia, he believed he could form a deeper relationship with Grace, but Grace is now seeing Ian and he is stuck being that friend who can only watch them from behind. Everything remains the same, yet Rayev can't help but be captivated by Grace. It's likely because he has become accustomed to not receiving affection in return. Then, if that is still the case, Rayev then begins to worry if he will grow to regret breaking his knight's pledge with Selonia, which causes Makleon to question whether or not giving his heart to Grace will be the right choice. Rayev is enraged by the new information that this dragon has taken his heart back, because it means that it doesn't matter to him if Selonia gets hurt anymore. Hello? The audacity! You yourself broke your oath to our girl! Anyway, Makleon tries to deny it and insists he still cares about Selonia, but a sense of darkness causes him to halt. However, when Grace calls out his name and extends an invitation to join them for a meal, he finds himself unable to resist her charm. And despite being confused by his feelings, he still goes to Grace anyway. Leaving Rayev behind, who is now sweating heavily because just a moment ago he saw Makleon show signs of confusion about his feelings, Rayev is also confused and battling his inner emotions when Grace calls his name. Hearing her voice and seeing her lovely smile make him realize that he does love Grace Bennett. I knew she was brainwashing them! Now I feel bad for the two men since it seems like the witch is making it impossible for them to break free from the spell or whatever that is. While our girl eats sweets with Ella, Selonia realizes the novel is over. In the novel, the plot ended 1 month after the Demon King's defeat at Selonia and Ian's wedding. However, that timeline has already passed, implying she's now living and writing her own life. She then overhears people discussing how the Marquise's daughter, Grace, has managed to outshine her. Ella becomes infuriated, ready to come to her defense, but Selonia swiftly steps in, reassuring her that everything is alright. As Grace announced her engagement with Ian, the public's attention shifted to her, but she had already resolved her feelings. Though she struggles to let go of lingering attachments, she is determined not to let useless emotions ruin her new life. I like how nonchalant she is with her situation. Ella then inquires about Selonia's anticipated return to the healing clinic. In the story, Selonia is renowned as an esteemed imperial healer who dedicated her time to the clinic. However, her responsibilities shifted when she was assigned the task of subduing the Demon King. Unfortunately, she later fell ill under mysterious circumstances, resulting in her prolonged absence. Selonia, with only 6 months left on her leave of absence, is determined to make the most of this precious time before she has to return to work. Now, she will savor every moment, enjoying the time that remains at her own leisure. Ella wholeheartedly supports Selonia's decision and encourages her to follow her happiness, assuring her that all worries will fade away. A few days ago, inside Vacian House, whispers about Selonia circulated among the housemaids. They noted a significant change in her demeanor and how her frequent outbursts and irritations are no longer an issue. It even gave them chills to see Selonia smiling and greeting everyone warmly, as if she hadn't ever mistreated them before. One of the maids noticed that their master had changed after the expedition, and the other maid agreed and speculated that given how dangerous it was to defeat the Demon King, and their master remaining comatose for 3 months, she must have experienced major transformations when she awakened from a near-death experience. Speaking of Selonia, the maids have no idea that she's actually listening to them. Well, our girl here has no time to be around the maids because after she transmigrated, she went on the expedition, so she believes that they are talking about the real Selonia being irritable and always upset. She intends to do something about her reputation now that she knows this, since she actually had no idea the original Selonia had some attitude. Okay, so the original female lead sounds like a villain to me. With the story complete, our girl is determined to be herself while owning Selonia's body. So she plans on building Selonia's character from the ground up. Her plan starts today at Roblanc because while she is conversing with Ella inside, she notices 3 noble ladies being told by the waiter that there's no vacant space for them, so they have to wait. Selonia then suggests that they all sit down together as an opportunity to socialize. However, given that she's a hero and a Vacian, she notices a tiny uneasiness among the ladies, so she gives them a genuine smile and thanks them for sitting with her. To relieve the tension, Selonia goes on to claim that she chose to invite them to her table because it has been a long time since she's been away from high society, and she has no young ladies to chat with, which relaxes the ladies. I believe these 3 ladies are trustworthy, and I sincerely hope Selly makes new friends. After that, the unplanned meeting between the ladies became a captivating exchange, and Selonia has come to learn more about them. Then their conversation shifted to him. Who else? Ian. Lady Abel is the one who initiates the discussion after hesitantly mentioning Ian Chervell and Grace Bennett's engagement. She is concerned about Selonia's well-being, but don't worry, ladies, our girl hasn't developed any serious feelings for that aggressive man, so Selonia simply smiles and claims she's fine. Now that they know Selonia is cool with it, these women can finally start trash-talking her, calling her an embarrassment to the nobility. This is me and my girls gossiping about someone we don't like. Though everything they stated is accurate, Selonia points out that the man is just as much to blame as the girl, and everyone agrees with her. When someone enters the cake shop, the bustle interrupts their chit-chat, and they all become curious about the person who has just arrived, only to discover that he is the Night Beast. Pretty face? Check. Black hair? Check. Red eyes? Check. It seems like the main lead to me. The fact that the shopkeeper handed him a bag raises Selonia's suspicions, but she soon discovers that it contains food and that he is giving it to hungry people. However, when Selonia notices the big scar on his chest, she is so surprised as she is certain that it is not an ordinary wound. Aha! Girl, where are you looking? Kidding aside, Selonia can't stop wondering who this new person is, and she's starting to feel tense seeing him. On their way home, Selonia asks Ella if she's heard anything about the Night Beast's wound on his chest, but Ella claims to be clueless. Yet, given that the guy's been beating deadly monsters and criminals, she suspects he got it from the fights. Ella then changes the subject and enthusiastically inquires about Selonia's day with the ladies. The ladies were hesitant at first, but they quickly became friendly and chatty, and they even decided to have tea at the Vacian's estate the next time. Selonia seems content to have made new friends. When she transmigrated, she was constantly in the company of male leads, so she didn't have a chance to meet anyone. Now that she's had some space, her world is expanding. Yes, you deserve to live as yourself now that the novel is complete. While still in the carriage, Ella begins to wonder what the Demon King looks like, as only the heroes have seen him in person. Upon thinking about it, Selonia recalls a truly spine-chilling encounter with the Demon King. Covered in jet black scales, this formidable creature towered over them all and possessed a pair of piercing, blood-red eyes. Being the only female to battle a final boss is quite a baddie. However, Selonia is the only one who has seen the true face of the Demon King, but her thoughts are cut short when their carriage comes to a halt. Cohen, the carriage driver, nervously alerts her that he was attempting to cross the woodland when werewolf demons appeared surrounding their carriage. The horses are too terrified to go, and she didn't have a sword with her, so Cohen intends to block them off while they drive the carriage away, which Selonia objects to. Ha! Our girl just fought a Demon King, so she definitely won't back down now. Although Selonia is not a warrior but rather a healer, she intends to use her healing light to clear a path for their carriage to escape. So she steps out and begins emitting her power, causing the demons to retreat. However, as she prepares to board the carriage, her light power becomes too faint and is undone, prompting a werewolf to attack her. Fortunately, a man arrives and uses his black magic to defeat the wolves, but it is so powerful that it causes Selonia to fall. Her vision is blurry, but she recognizes the guy who rescued her as the Night Beast. Now that she can see him up close, she finally realizes why she felt uncomfortable when she saw him in the cafe earlier. She then mutters that he is supposed to be dead, leaving the guy wondering how she knows him. Well, how could she not, considering that she's the one responsible for his death and the scar on his chest? It's the Demon King! Well, hello there, Mr. Demon King. Is that why he offers the bread to those in need? Because he has, 6 loaves already? I'm looking respectfully, by the way. Right after they defeated the Demon King, Selonia healed the boys, allowing them to reevaluate the area for any remaining demons. The fight was extremely hard, and Selonia had used up all her strength when she suddenly realized her dagger was missing. She must have left it inside the castle, so she decided to go inside because it's a priceless souvenir from her victory against the Demon King. Okay, the reason is understandable, and she's brave to go back. She arrived at the location where the king was flat on the ground, lifeless, and easily found her dagger. But as soon as she picked it up, she felt a strange presence, so she turned to face the Demon King, only to be surprised to see him transform into his human form. Mr. Sleeping Beauty! He suddenly opened his eyes, surprising Selonia, and she immediately decided to eliminate him because it would be disastrous if he was revived, so she ended up stabbing him. Selonia wakes up huffing, anxious that she has dreamed about the Demon King, while Ella enters her room, happy to see her okay. Ella then informs her that it has been 2 hours since they escaped the forest, and because Selonia is now awake, she cheerfully proposes they prepare to meet their savior. So taken aback, Selonia bolts for their guest room, trying to tell herself that what happened earlier was all a dream. She anxiously opens the door to see her father, glad that her body is fine. He then invites her to come closer to greet the one who saved her. So she looks to her side and sees the Demon King she stabbed looking stunning. Looking so alive. She's not sure how to feel right now. Afraid, confused, shocked, and possibly awkward since she stabbed him. Plus, her father's decision to leave her alone with the Demon King only adds to her anxiousness. The Demon King stares at her and asks if she knows him, which Selonia immediately denies. She then expresses her gratitude for saving her, but she is direct in telling him to leave immediately. However, he shows no sign of listening and restates her earlier claim that he should be dead. This baffles Selonia, and she begins to wonder if the Demon King does not recognize her. Oh, he has amnesia, does he? Whatever is happening to the Demon King, Selonia must kick him out of their mansion before he remembers everything, because her father's and their servants' safety is her first priority right now. She disputes his claims again, claiming that he is mistaking her for someone else, causing the Demon King to believe that Selonia has no intention of telling him anything, so he exposes that he has lost all his memories. He goes on to say that he doesn't know anyone and has nowhere to go. So he childishly claims that staying at their mansion is his only option, leaving Selonia baffled. Selonia then starts to sound serious, saying that she has never given him permission to stay and that if he refuses to leave, she is willing to have the guards drag him out. His vicious red eyes only look at Selonia. Then he moves to the window and begins emitting fire from his fingertips, threatening her that with his powers, he can set fire to their entire mansion. Whoopsie, now he's acting like a real Demon King? Selonia becomes cautious of him and decides to call the guards, but he smirks at her, allowing her to do so, but stating that he cannot ensure anyone's safety. This causes our girl to hesitate. While they have previously annihilated the Demon King, she will never be able to do so again now that she's alone. In addition, she may accidentally provoke him, enabling him to get back his memory. She fears he is now trying to frighten her because he thinks she knows something about him, so she clarifies to him once more that she actually has no idea who he is. The Demon King ends his threats with an innocent smile, adding that he'll wait because Selonia's father has granted him permission to stay for as long as he wishes. Kind of dangerous, but I'm here for it. Selonia should tell him everything she knows if she wants him gone, but our girl insists on denying it, which he sarcastically replies is fine with him. This is now a battle of patience. After that, he playfully comments that they should be offering snacks and demands that Selonia do so because he's hungry, which causes our poor girl to quietly weep, hoping that she can get through this whole situation unscathed. I can already imagine them bickering. But is the Demon King truly wicked, or is it merely necessary for the story to proceed? Selonia has returned to her room where Ella is cheerfully waiting for her, and it appears that her maid is already a fan of the Night Beast. Ella describes how the guy subdued the rest of the werewolves while Selonia was unconscious, then securely escorted their carriage back to the mansion. Selonia then begins to wonder if the Night Beast is truly a decent guy, as the rumors suggest, and Ella confirms this by stating that everyone, particularly those in the slums, adore him. However, Selonia, who knows the truth, believes that a Demon King like him will never be the people's hero. But now that she thinks about it, the crack in the forest where the Demon King resurrected and the demons emerged has vanished since they defeated him. Since the crack disappeared, does the gorgeous man lose his role as king of the demons? A good question to ponder, dear. That night, Selonia goes to see her father and informs him that he should have given the young guy a token of appreciation because allowing him to stay in their mansion is risky given that they don't know his background. This, however, leads her father's gaze to become serious, reminding her that, as capable nobles, they should know how to share. Noblesse oblige. The belief that the nobility should help others is what her father has dedicated his entire life to. But Selonia can't let this go on. So even if it's difficult to believe, she knows her father will trust her when she says the man he's welcomed into their house is the Demon King. Just as she was about to inform the Duke, she couldn't say the word Demon King. She then tries to write it down, but no matter how hard she tries, she can't spell the word demon, which frustrates her. Her father interrupts her strange behavior and informs her that, while the Night Beast is now her benefactor, they cannot just give him money because it may alter the public's view to the Vasian family. Selonia fails to persuade her father, so she decides to keep an eye on the Demon King for the time being and assures the Duke that she'll make sure the Night Beast feels at ease in their home. This causes the Duke to smile at her, and since she passed out again today, he tells her to be careful with her body because they only have each other. Meanwhile, in the Demon King's room, he is sweating heavily and his scar hurts. But his concentration is focused on Selonia since he is confident the girl recognizes him. He wants to know Selonia's relationship with the previous him, but above all else, he wants his memories recovered. What previous you? Did you also transmigrate? Things are getting weirder. In the Chervelle residence, Ian is irritated by all of the articles about him that claim he doesn't deserve to be dubbed a hero because he had an affair while with Selonia. Dude, you deserve to be called out. He then instructs his men to report the entire newspaper firm, as he will not tolerate anyone doubting his qualities as a hero since he was the one who defeated the Demon King. Yeah, whatever. He then picks up Selonia's letter and smirks that the girl must be asking for something glamorous, but he is so stunned by it that he resolves to pay her a visit today. Meanwhile, Selonia sits in her garden silently, unsure how to begin a letter to Raev. She doesn't know when the Demon King will regain his memories, so she decides to warn the heroes, one of whom she hopes will trust her, Raev, her first friend. However, she is still unable to write the word Demon King, and she is under the impression that she has been cursed. She has no idea what is going on, but before she can think more of it, her maid notifies her that Gileian has arrived. As usual, this pretty silver-haired guy greets Selonia with respect, and the reason she summons him is to have him examine the Night Beast as well as to have someone keep an eye on Grace Bennett. Do not misunderstand. Our girl is done with the male leads, and the reason she wants to check Grace is to see if she has any ties to the Demon King, for which Gileian obeys her commands. Suddenly, they hear a ruckus outside, and Selonia recognizes the man's voice to be Ian's. Although Gileian is prepared to deal with the man on his own, she tells him not to and simply requests that he leave. I hope he's really a good guy, cause I would love to see him more. Ian bursts into the room, shouting Selonia's name, while our girl maintains her icy composure, instructing him to take a seat as she plans to hold him accountable for his rudeness. Selonia sits like a baddie and mocks Ian's endless shouting, making him pause for a moment to process Selonia's newfound hostility toward him. This guy really believes that Selonia is acting strangely because she's mad at him for choosing another woman over her. He finds her jealousy-fueled outburst disgusting, causing her to think that he's really gone mad while she gives him a threatening look. This man is a bad type of Delulu. Selonia just wants him out, so she asks if he is there to discuss the alimony, and this guy plops on the chair and firmly expresses his disbelief at her requested alimony, suggesting that she consider asking for something different. Ian must have forgotten who he's talking to, so Selonia reminds him that the Vesian family is sufficiently rich in resources to demand petty things, and she coldly reveals that the sword is the sole item of worth to her in the Chevelle house. However, the true motive behind her request for the sword is its potential to become a holy sword in the future. She starts to think that Ian must have noticed the sword's significance because he is now negotiating with her. So she shifts tactics and asks if the sword has any power, which makes him flinch and yell that she's making it up. This is Selonia's cue, so she grins, and because he just affirmed that it's nothing exceptional, she tells him to send the sword, warning him not to deceive her, as she'll have the imperial court notarize it. Ian then laughs as Selonia tells him about the congratulatory banquet for her at the palace, mistaking it for an invitation to him. However, Selonia actually mentions it to remind him not to come, expressing her worry that he would actually show his face there, which makes him so baffled. She then tells him to leave because she can't stand to be around him any longer, but he continues to act haughtily, telling her not to show her face again, while in reality, he really can't believe Selonia has moved on. The Night Beast then appears, blocking Ian's path. Ian commands him to step aside, provoking the Night Beast to grin while belittling him for being too little to notice. That's satisfying! The Night Beast immediately shifts his focus to Selonia, calling her name, causing Ian to become annoyed because he acts as if he's close with her. However, before Ian can lash out at the Night Beast, Selonia stops him. She wonders if Ian is jealous, but in any case, she orders him not to be rude to her guest and asks him to leave immediately. Ian takes a moment outside Selonia's room, surprised that she's a new man in her life and puzzled that he is experiencing weird feelings. I suspect Grace controls the male leads, but the two boys aren't as hostile around Selonia, so it's clear to me that Ian has a naturally terrible attitude, so I don't want him for our girl. When Grace unexpectedly visits Reyev today, he gives her a sorrowful smile, expressing that they won't be able to see each other for a while. Holy Knights must perform a 15-day rite known as the Sacred Rites every year. It's a purification meant to restore the knight's purity and nobility. So these rituals may be able to free Reyev from Grace's control, right? Grace then surprises Reyev with a lunchbox containing a cake she prepared for him to enjoy after the ritual period. This makes Reyev happy, especially because he only mentioned the ritual once when talking to Grace. During the victory party, when the heroes and Grace sat down for a chat, they brought up the sacred ritual, and while Reyev acted as if it were nothing exceptional, Moklian mentioned that it would be tough because they would be fasting for 15 days, which Grace caught on to. Do you see that evil look she has? Reyev gladly accepts the cake, but Grace requests that he promise to eat at least one slice after the ritual. That cake is surely sus. A cake for your first post-fasting meal? Blue hair, you're not that dumb, right? Meanwhile, back at the Vesian mansion, the Demon King questions Selonia about the golden-haired boy from earlier, as well as whether he is someone she doesn't like. This confuses Selonia until this monstrous man offers to kill that man on her behalf, which makes her feel scared and makes her realize that even if he doesn't remember anything, his desire to kill is still hardwired into him. After that, he just laughs and casually says that he can deliver the man's head to her if she wants, which makes her urge him to quit being ridiculous. After that, he puts aside his villainous aura and acts goofy, explaining that he is merely making a suggestion since her face earlier clearly indicates that she wants Ian dead, so he assumed it would be a great deal between them. While he spills Ian's blood, she spills what she knows. Selonia is exhausted from dealing with the terrifying Demon King, but listen, I'm convinced this guy can solve all of your problems, like, Grace and Trio repellent? That night, Selonia decides to go for a walk down the hallway as she has been unable to sleep for the past few days. Her thoughts stray to the Demon King and all the things she expected him to do, such as run wild and cause havoc. Yet none of it has happened until now. They barely even see each other while passing in the hallway because he never leaves his room, and she has heard that he never eats. Just then, she hears a noise that sounds like someone wailing in pain, and realizes it's coming from the Demon King's room. The Demon King actually awoke in a deserted house in the middle of the forest, completely without any memories. So to figure out who he is, he moved around, asking people whether they knew him. But even after a month, he discovered nothing. I would go insane if I woke up one day with amnesia and realized no one knew who I was. However, he discovered that he possesses extraordinary power, and he learned that every night at midnight, an excruciating sensation engulfs his body, especially his scar, causing him to be unable to even stand up. It was during these times that he pondered whether regaining his memories could potentially alleviate the torment. Experiencing the crushing pain of being sliced open every midnight? I just hope he doesn't go berserk when he finds out Selonia did it to him. Back to the present, Selonia runs to his room but finds no one until she hears screaming again from the bathroom. After knocking and getting no response, she decides to open the door, only to find the Demon King slumped down on the floor, visibly in pain. The Demon King lacks the energy to push her away, so he uses his loud voice to demand that she leave, stating that he can manage himself. But a healer would never leave someone in pain, so she calls a doctor. But when the pain from his chest scar returns and causes him to scream, Selonia opts to use her healing magic instead of calling a doctor since she believes there is no time to waste. But suddenly she stops, realizing that she's attempting to revive not only any person, but also the Demon King she had previously slain. The irony! She is also concerned that if he sees her healing magic, he may regain his memory. Thankfully, the servants appear and she immediately instructs them to contact a doctor. So while waiting, Selonia decides to offer him some emergency treatment rather than use her magic. But just as she is about to apply medicine to his scar, the Demon King grabs her hand and stops her. Surprisingly, the agony he's been experiencing, as if his body were being torn apart, quickly goes away when he holds Selonia, and he realizes that the pain returns when he releases her. Ooh, a magic touch, huh? So instead of his outraged voice, he begs her to let him hold her while she treats his wounds, which Selonia finds confusing, but she gives in because she sees his desperation. As Selonia brings her left hand over her medicine box, he clings to her right hand like a small child, forcing them closer together. The servant and doctor show up at the last moment, startled by their awkward position, and reluctantly ask whether they should just leave them alone. Selonia feels embarrassed when she realizes they have misunderstood what they are doing, while the Demon King could care less. The doctor then examines his cut and suspects that something weird is interfering with his scar's healing. When the doctor asks how he got the scar, the Demon King just says he has no idea and that the wound was there when he awoke 3 months ago. This makes Selonia flinch because everything lines up. They defeated him at the same time, and she cut his chest precisely like that. For a transmigrated girl, she had no problem slicing his chest that wide. The next day, Selonia receives the Holy Sword along with verification that it's authentic. She is relieved that Ian did not deceive her in any way by giving her a knockoff sword. She grips the sword with glee, proud of herself for choosing it as her alimony, when Mr. Demon King barges into her study. Then he sees the sword, and Selonia decides to test if it won't trigger any memories in him by telling him it's the Holy Sword that slew the Demon King. When he only responds with a, okay, she releases a sigh of relief. I just noticed their height difference, and it's cute. He then wonders if it is her sword, and learns that it is the sword of the blondie guy he saw earlier. After that, Selonia grins, imagining Ian going completely nuts right now. And our girl isn't wrong, because Ian is now throwing everything in his room, enraged that someone like Selonia, who doesn't understand the worth of the Holy Sword, got hold of it. After defeating the Demon King, his plan was to examine the sword to determine if it had absorbed the Demon King's power. Then his thoughts turned to the man who was with Selonia and is now outraged at his arrogance for not lowering his head to him, and he assumes Selonia brought the guy to make him jealous. Grace then enters his room and is shocked to see how cluttered it is, prompting Ian, who is already upset, to look at her with terrifying eyes and say he's busy right now. Grace is taken aback by this and decides to leave his room, while Ian, confused by his emotional state, chooses not to go after her. Things on their side are so tense, and I love it. That night in the Vacia mansion, they eat dinner together, and Selonia's father introduces her to Lubius Seed, the charming commander of the Vacian family knight. After that, the Duke apologizes to the Night Beast for the delay in inviting him to dinner, explaining that he was preoccupied with managing their household. However, our guy really has that ability to speak without thinking, so he simply states that it doesn't matter to him. This is why Selonia is so worried about the Demon King meeting humans. She's breaking out in a cold sweat just listening to him. After asking whether Selonia is alright, Lubius expresses his relief at hearing the good news, adding that he had trouble sleeping due to his concerns for her. An expressionless Demon King decides to join their chat and honestly remarks that Lubius looks well rested for someone who claims not to have slept, causing the commander to look so irritated. Selonia shoots the Demon King an icy stare in an attempt to get him to stop. But I can tell he doesn't give a damn. I can already sense how stressed our girl is. The Duke tries to laugh it off and encourages the Demon King to eat, but this guy isn't finished with his savagery and questions whether he really needs to eat. He stares at the dishes for a while and wonders what it means to be hungry, which surprises both the Duke and Lubius, who decide to make fun of him by claiming that they now understand why he's weird. He has damaged his brain. Selonia interrupts and confirms that the Night Beast does in fact have a head injury that causes him to have difficulty feeling sensations. Just then, a servant notifies the Duke that it's time for him to head out, so he has no choice but to leave immediately, and Lubius follows him. When the Demon King was wandering around, he once helped a cafe owner who, in return, gave him bread. Because he was at a loss as what to do with the bread, he gave it to 2 children who were starving. He witnessed the joy on their faces as they savored the delicious bread. That's when he became aware of the word hunger and wondered why he couldn't feel such sensations. Poor guy doesn't even realize he's not human! Now, when they are both alone at the table, Selonia nudges him to eat by bringing the plates over to him, and suddenly, the food seems dazzling and delicious in his eyes. After giving Selonia a quick look, he decides to give it a go himself. Selonia then asks if he hasn't eaten since waking up without memories, which he confirms. Demons are known to lack hunger and sleep, so witnessing him eat makes him look like a normal human. Selonia then tells him that if he ever gets hungry, he is free to notify anyone in their house and they will cook it for him. But when he learns that she will not join him, he declines her offer. His apparent lack of interest baffles Selonia, so she shifts the conversation to inquire as to why he's distributing food to the people. Selonia assumes he's referring to food when he says that it's because he noticed people were in need, but it seems like the people start to rely on him, the one who can provide them with food. That is such a kingly personality. Selonia is back in her room, and she can't help but ponder what the Demon King stated earlier. The people needed him. She wonders if he's trying to recover his memories by helping people or if he can't tolerate watching people suffer. But she chooses not to empathize with him because it doesn't concern her. Nearing midnight, she eagerly awaits the arrival of the Demon King, who, during their earlier supper, proposed a deal. He would happily leave her house if she would give him her hand. He holds her hand, and his explanation that her touch alleviates all of his suffering has her jaw dropping in disbelief. She tries to make sense of it and asks if he means that the chest ache he suffers every night will subside with her touch, which the Demon King confirms. As he continues to hold her hand, a mischievous grin spreads across his face, believing that Selonia knows the cause of his misery, prompting her to remove her hand from him and accept his proposal with his promise that he will leave in a month. Given that her father has no intention of kicking him out, this is her chance to make him leave, so she has little choice but to endure being close to him for a month. But she does have her conditions, one of which is that he must visit her room without anybody knowing. Selonia is then amazed to see that he accomplishes this by teleportation, while this guy is unaware of the name of his skill. He just got to her room in time because he's starting to feel severe pain and falls on Selonia's shoulder. She immediately holds his hand and gives him a chair to sit in. She looks at his pained expression and can't believe she's in such a bind with the Demon King. But it does have a positive side since he promised never to hurt any of her people. After a while, the Demon King returns to his normal self, while Selonia's feelings for him begin to waver, since seeing him struggle makes it difficult for her to see him as a cruel Demon King who deserved to die. He then leans in to say goodbye, seeming really upbeat. Who wouldn't? To finally enjoy a night without feeling like you're dying would make me very happy. As he strolls down the hall, thoughts of the perfectly cooked meal from earlier flood his mind, along with his unusual hunger, which he has never felt before. To wake up in a world where he doesn't even know his own name and to have someone recognize him for the first time means that the 1-month deal will never happen since he intends to keep Selonia by his side forever. I knew it. It was too good to be true. But what will happen if he falls for our girl and finds out she made that scar? That would be heartbreaking. It's been a week since their agreement, and part of the deal is to eat together, so today our guy continuously knocked on her door, forcing our poor girl to wake up. Selonia attempts to persuade this individual to forego breakfast now that they are seated together, but he simply raises an eyebrow and remarked indifferently that rising a bit earlier isn't difficult. Well, at least he's been a decent guy, as she has noticed that he never teleports into her room unless it's midnight, and he doesn't interfere with her people. In the end, she falls asleep while eating, and the Demon King has plenty of fun staring at her face. She is incredibly pretty here. They then go outside, and our poor Demon King really knows nothing since he continues pointing at random things and asking Selonia what they are. The fact that he has no idea what an ant is makes Selonia assume he's playing with her. He then wonders what that knight and maid are doing, so she glances and is horrified to discover that they are poised to show off a lovey-dovey scene. She hastily instructs them to kiss somewhere else, while explaining to the Demon King in a shy and vague tone that those two are only doing something they enjoy. It's okay, my guy. She'll teach you those next time. Gileian finally gets there to inform Selonia about the Night Beast, but like Grace, he is unable to acquire any intriguing information. He also informs her that they have been keeping an eye on Grace, but have found nothing unusual. Yet Selonia is convinced that what is happening now with Grace and the Demon King cannot be coincidence, so she must have missed something. For the time being, Selonia dismisses Gileian, who apologizes and gets up to leave. But she plans on looking for a different guild that might give her answers. However, she discovers a piece of paper on the couch where Gileian was sitting, so she grabs it and asks if it was his, which causes this guy to look frightened and swiftly snatch it away from Selonia. She is surprised at how the ever-composed Gileian acted, but she decides to ignore it and only joke about it being a love letter. Gileian responds seriously, stating that it is similar to a love letter, and then leaves. Following the guildmaster's departure, Selonia feels a shiver down her spine upon seeing the paper. It is not a letter, but rather a magical pattern, and the most unsettling part is the sight of Grace Bennett's name inscribed upon it. No, my cutie silver-haired Gileian is bad? Is this why he stinks at getting info? Selonia is really puzzled by the magical pattern and fears that Gileian is hiding something from her. Therefore, she considers finding further information elsewhere. Ella then frantically asks for her to come outside immediately, since Sir Lubius is in trouble, and she also mentions Night Beast, which raises Selonia's concerns. Outside, Selonia sees the Demon King wielding a sword while Sir Lubius kneels on the ground, which frustrates her since she had specifically asked him not to harm anyone within their house. Yet, here they are! She then steps forward, ordering the Demon King to sheath his sword and instructing the maid to bring Sir Lubius to the doctor. Afterward, she turns to the Demon King and asks if he truly finds it difficult to keep his word, but he claims that he only did what he asked. Observing his expression convinces her that he feels no remorse for his actions, and she blames herself for hoping that the Demon King would honor his promise. Selonia expresses that she can no longer trust him, but she will stick to their agreement. And before leaving, she reminds him not to forget his promise to leave their house in a month, leaving the Demon King stunned as his sword slips down with his blood, a moment witnessed only by Ella. I just know my poor amnesia Demon King got falsely accused. That night, Ella delivers the hot tea Selonia asked, informing her that Sir Lubius will recover soon, and mentioning that the Night Beast was injured earlier, as she witnessed blood trickling from his arm. Ella goes on to clarify that the earlier uproar was not the result of an argument. The Night Beast was simply reacting to Sir Lubius's insulting words. Selonia then feels a shiver run down her spine after discovering what really happened, and she swiftly requests that Ella gather everyone who was there at the training grounds earlier for questioning. This is why you should never jump to conclusions! Ella was there when it all happened, and at the time it was Lubius who approached them. He started accusing the Night Beast of being shameless for staying at the Vestian Manor for so long, calling him a good-for-nothing from the slums and a parasite who was just lucky to be there. Lubius ordered the Night Beast to leave and stop bothering Selonia, but our guy merely said no, infuriating Lubius and causing him to challenge the Night Beast to a duel. After Selonia gathered the knights in attendance, she discovered that the earlier commotion was just a usual duel. They had witnessed it from the start, noticing that the Night Beast never wielded his sword, despite holding it in his hand. They also noticed Sir Lubius tossing soil, which is when they think he got hurt. It is already midnight, but the Night Beast hasn't shown up yet, so she plans to look for him when he suddenly teleports in her room in pain. She hurries over to him and holds his hand, which helps his breathing become normal. She then notices the gash on his shoulder, which prompts her to say that she heard he didn't harm Lubius, and she apologizes for suspecting him. He requests she say it again, which she does until he cutely admits that hearing an apology feels good, making her chuckle. They are now sitting beside each other as the Demon King explains that, since she regrets what happened, he would like her to call him by his name. However, he cannot remember it, so he asks her to create a name for him. She chooses the name Tan, finding it easy to pronounce and fitting for him, which he happily accepts, and declares that from that moment on, he will be known as Tan. This makes Selonia smile, pleased that he appreciates his new name, which actually derived from the word Satan. Girl, you did him dirty! You named him like I name my pets! Meanwhile, Lubius is having a tantrum in his room after being summoned by the Duke, who's upset because their family's night captain was defeated by the Night Beast. The Duke put Lubius on probation, which is a relatively light punishment given that Lubius is confident that the Duke will ensure that no rumors spread and that he will not be stripped of his position. What really irritates this guy is when Selly approaches him coldly to inform him that she had heard what had happened and advised him not to do it again. He dislikes Selly taking Tan's side because he likes her and has only stepped aside before because she was supposed to marry Ian, but he cannot allow her to marry Tan, whom he refers to as a beggar. Boy, stop! Get some help! Today, Selonia and Ellen are in the Montera Street, the Empire's biggest downtown area, hoping to discover more about Gileian's weird note and to get a dress for her congratulatory party. They arrive at the Weeklander store, and Selly is greeted by the owner, Sir Weeklander, who appears glad to see her. Sir has that zaddy vibe! They quickly get down to business, with Selly asking if he knows anything about a sheepskin paper with a magic circle drawn on it. And she learns that it is a very old method, as people nowadays draw magic circles with artifacts. The new method leaves a trail, allowing anyone to immediately determine what magic was used, whereas the old method cannot be tracked, implying that whoever uses sheepskin is trying to hide something. Sir Weeklander has a book on magic circles, but it will take him some time to find the mark Selly is looking for, so he promises to contact her in a few days. Selly agrees, but as she departs, Weeklander smiles and tells her to take care of her health, which confuses her. Please don't be sus, Zaddy! Our Demon King appears to have never stopped visiting the slums and giving kids bread. Who doesn't love a chill, dashing man with a good heart? Maxwell, a man with freckles and green hair, smiles as he approaches Tan, and it seems like he was the one who offered help when Tan first arrived, confused by his lost memories. Maxwell is pleased that Tan is doing well and inquires whether Selonia is indeed as beautiful as the rumors claim, which confuses him because he's unfamiliar with the term, but he does believe Selonia resembles a small, simple purple flower that stops you in your tracks. Oh, such a lovely poetic way of expressing someone as attractive, and he's clueless of it. Anyway, Tan glares at Maxwell and asks how he knows Selly, prompting the smiling seaweed to explain that everyone knows Lady Selonia since she is one of the four saviors. Well, our guy has no idea what he's talking about, so Maxwell must tell him the story of the four saviors, which will undoubtedly go down in history. Speaking of that very baddie, beautiful savior, Selly is currently at the Verandi Boutique, which is the Empress's exclusive boutique. Thus, securing a single appointment is very difficult. However, as one of the saviors, Verandi, the owner, reached out to Selly to make her outfit for her celebratory party. Tan appears unexpectedly, which surprises Selly, but she has little time to argue because she needs to complete the fitting. Selly looks ethereal with that off-the-shoulder and her wavy purple hair flowing, prompting Tan, who is silently watching her in the corner, to ask Ella if Selly looks beautiful to her. Of course, Ella beamingly acknowledges that her lady is the most beautiful woman, but she gets confused when Tan asks whether everyone's heart flutters when they look at Selly. Ella then notices Tan struggling to cover his flushed face. Oh my goodness, blushing, nonchalant men are my weakness. Sir, this is illegal! After Selly's dress fitting, Verandi mentions that she has a suit that is too big, and she thinks only Tan, who is tall, dark, and handsome, would be the best fit for it. This really draws Selly's curiosity about how Tan will look in the suit. Obviously, with those white gloves, an elegant white suit, and his hair neatly styled, Mr. Demon King looks extremely handsome. Selly did not expect Tan to look nice in a suit designed for the Crown Prince, yet look at her fumbling hands, slightly blushing at how good he looks. These two are secretly swooning over each other's charm. Just say I do already! Selly purchases Tan's clothes, and they should be leaving with happy smiles, but someone has arrived to ruin the mood. Who else but this smackable witch Grace with her leashed lizard Gileian? Grace declares that she will also order a dress for her special event, blatantly rubbing it in Selly's face that she's marrying Ian. And lady, we don't friggin' care. Madame Veronde straight up tells Grace that her boutique isn't just for anyone, especially not for someone as basic as her. The madam totally knows what's up and puts Grace in check. Gileian has the guts to urge Sely to persuade Veronde for him, just for old time's sake. Seriously? For old time's sake? After cutting ties with our girl? What a jerk! Selonia hits them with that blank stare and straight up says she's not close with Grace to help her, so Gileian should just handle it since he always gets his way. Yes, queen, that's my girl, never letting anyone step on her. Gileian yells Selly's name and claims that what he is asking isn't that difficult, prompting our Demon King to step up and shoo him away. Can this lizard quit calling our girl by her nickname as if they're friends? Also, I love how Tan is taller than him. Gileian tries to push Tan away, prompting Tan to grab him above ground and coldly ask if he wants to die right now, causing this lizard to use his power, but Tan's simple stare disables it. Sely immediately orders Tan to stop, and as a very obedient cutie pie, he dumps Gileian on the ground like a sack of potatoes. This hurts Gileian's pride, and he loses his cool, causing him to use his dragon energy, prompting Sely to shout for him to stop and not harm a civilian. Thankfully, this stops Gileian, but he wonders why Selonia is protecting a man he knows isn't ordinary based on how he stopped his dragon energy earlier. He walks away to exit the store, and Grace says farewell to Sely. But, ugly witch, we are not done with you. Selonia reminds Grace that she should not expect to be treated the same as the saviors, and she tells her to attain achievement so that people will recognize her. Evil Grace finds this amusing, saying that Sely is nothing without her family's name. This makes Sely move closer to her, as Grace seems to have not cleaned her ears, missing the point that she can prove herself without her family name and that her title as a savior speaks for itself. Selly's not hungry, but she ate. Slay, girl! They are about to leave when Sely wonders why Tan helped her earlier, prompting him to say that he is aware that Gileian is one of the saviors who have betrayed her. He says someone in the slums told him, which calms Sely because she thought he had already regained his memories. In the Bennett manor, Grace feels very frustrated that Sely still carries herself with such pride, even after losing everything, and she despises how she exploits her savior title to defend herself. Aside from that, Grace thinks Tan is more attractive than Ian and stronger than Gileian, which makes her grin. Oh, she's planning to seduce Tan? In your dreams? She is then notified that Ian has arrived unexpectedly, which irritates her much. But look at this disgusting two-faced girl who's now beaming at her fiancé. Ian looks around her room at all the costly decorations, which disappoint him because he knows the Baron family isn't doing so well financially, so he plans to teach Grace about money when they marry. Grace flinches when Ian says that they should select a date for their wedding soon, but she has persuaded him that there's no need to rush as she gives him that Darjeeling tea he likes. The way she mentions that tea sounds suspicious. Anyway, it's time to cleanse our eyes by watching our lovely leads go through their nighttime healing session, with Tan pretending he's still not fine so he can hold Selly's hand for longer. They use the time to chat, and because Tan has been reading books with Ella, he mentions that they're reading about a couple overcoming their socio-economic gaps and falling in love. This makes Sely feel embarrassed that Ella is making him read a romantic novel. Tan questions how humans earn titles, prompting Sely to explain that one can make a big contribution, such as defeating the Demon King. But she immediately changes the subject, informing him that they will not be able to have breakfast together tomorrow, since she is attending Den Roja's birthday party. Tan notices that Sely has always spoken to him formally, so he asks how old she is and discovers that she's 21 years old. Not long after, Sely begins to yawn, but this greedy guy claims that his wound still hurts, so they must hold hands, causing our girl to fall asleep on his shoulder. This makes him blush, and just as in the romance novel he's reading, he pulls her hand towards him and kisses it, hoping the night won't end. Aww. Have you noticed Sely warming up to him? Plus, my guy is here learning how to do romance from a novel. Everyone say thank you, Ella! Meanwhile, at Hirschbrook Castle in the north, Eos the Archduke and Kelvin, the commander of the knights, gaze at the Demon King's castle, which is not far away. They claim that their king's energy is increasing every day, and yes, these two with those red eyes are demons. When the saviors rushed into the Demon King's castle 3 months ago, their king ordered all demons to leave, and when they realized he had died, they fled to the human city. He values his men. Does this mean that he has always been nice? They entered the most useful bodies they could find, but this comes with a drawback. As Archduke and Captain, they now have a lot of work to do. Yup, welcome to the human world. They are confident that their king has returned, and they intend to find him in the capital, where they sense his energy. Today at the banquet hall, Selonia meets the little birthday girl, Nania, who begins fangirling and screaming that she is her favorite savior. Nania leans in and whispers to Selly, curious about the guy who's been giving her those intense looks. Selly turns around and is taken aback to see if it's Tan, her bodyguard for the night. She shares this with Nania, explaining who he is. As a distinguished gentleman standing at the corner, he draws every lady's eye, yet when they approach him, he just shoos them away. When Ella appears, Tan asks how old she thinks he is, and when she responds roughly 25, he feels happy since he has a 4-year age gap with Selly, which the novel says is the ideal gap for couples. He's really getting cuter by the day. However, his mood turns sour when he witnesses a nobleman kiss Selly's hand, and he is ready to throw hands. Thankfully, Ella is quick to grab him and explain that it is merely a common greeting among nobility, when suddenly Ian and Grace appear. Grace smiles and asks Tan if he remembers her. How about no? Blondie is interrupted by Ian, who tells her that she doesn't need to be respectful to someone who isn't a noble, but he flinches when Tan gives him that criminal, offensive side-eye treatment. Marquest and Roja arrives to greet Ian, so Tan and Ella decide to walk away. Grace greets the Marquess with long time no see, but shortly changes her words as she introduces herself as Baron Bennett's daughter, causing her to be ignored while the Marquess speaks with Ian. What was that slip-up? Sally has finally finished greeting so many nobles, so she walks to where Ella and Tan are waiting. Grace approaches Sally to greet her, but our girl has no time for fake talks, so she asks what she needs from her. This causes Grace to act sad, claiming that she understands Sally dislikes her, prompting Sally to clarify that she is not interested in her enough to detest her. The nobles who are watching this take Sally's side and call Grace a rude woman, leaving Grace stunned. That's what happens when you act like the main character. The Marquess announces that everyone should come into the garden because he has prepared something special. But Selonia simply wants to go home. However, when they arrive near the garden, Tan becomes weird, claiming that he hears someone sobbing. Ian sees Sally getting all worried about Tan and holding his hand, which low-key annoys him, making him question if the rumors about them are actually true. So, now you're acting jealous? Too late for that! Ian approaches them and asks Sally if something is wrong, prompting her to declare that it is none of his concern, while Tan remains stuck in his spot after hearing someone say that he needs to gather energy. When an image of himself from his time as a Demon King appears, he wonders if it's a memory. Is he getting his memories back? I'm worried he'll go berserk or something. The Marquess proudly displays them a monster in his custom-built cage in the middle of the garden, but Sally is concerned since the monster in front of them is a garum, which was incredibly difficult to deal with during their expedition. Sally is ready to speak up, but Ian brags that he will handle the monster, so she should take care of the frozen Tan. Ian moves towards the Marquess, claiming he will keep an eye on the garum, making the entire audience feel relieved. These rich people are always pulling some wild stunts that put their lives at risk. Sally, on the other hand, watches Tan, still in a trance, and it makes her realize that maybe the monster energy from the garam has an effect on Tan that could awaken his memories. Suddenly, the garam grows large and escapes the cage, leaving Ian with no choice but to deal with the creature as the guards escort the guests. The garam leaps and attacks Ian's sword, but being a renowned savior, he is able to counterattack, though he is astonished by the garam's thick skin. The monster then chooses to go after Lady Nania, which drives Selonia to jump into action too, helping the little girl to escape. I'd love to see more baddie Sally! The creature approaches Selonia, but it does not appear to attack her anytime soon, which confuses her. Ian screams for her to move, while Tan, who has returned, holds his girl and kills off the monster with a single slash. Oh dear, we could have had a garam dog on our team! Tan quickly lets go of his sword, effortlessly lifts Selly, concerned that her face is red and her heart is racing, making her even redder, and orders him to let her down. Oh, she is surely slowly falling too. They are now in the carriage, and Tan tells Selly that he actually heard the monster's thoughts in his head. This makes him wonder why he's different from the others when all he wants is to be like her. Imagine if he finds out he's the Demon King and Selly killed him. I am not ready for the betrayal he will feel. On that day, Selonia decides to visit Weeklinder's store after receiving a letter from him the night before. The message was brief, stating he had found the books on the magic circle, but she finds the letter odd, as it is written in a way that only someone familiar with the conversation could understand its meaning. While she's still figuring things out, Ella knocks on the door and quickly presents a shocking article from the newspaper. The report reveals that a large fire broke out in the shopping area of the Magic District, causing injuries, casualties, and the damage of multiple establishments. Afterward, Selonia is shocked to find Weeklinder's store in ruins, and what onlookers say makes her doubt if it's a coincidence. Suddenly, someone calls out to her, and later she learns that it's Henrik, Mr. Weeklinder's apprentice. This is bad. They keep introducing more hot characters. I'm a simple girl with a weak heart. He explains that his master is actually a sage who can see the future and that he was ordered to deliver the book to her. This revelation suggests that Mr. Weeklinder knew all along that these events would unfold, confirming Selonia's suspicion that it is not an ordinary accident. Afterward, she realizes she cannot simply sit back and wait for someone to get hurt again. Whatever may come in the future, she resolves to take action and stop it. Meanwhile, at Baron Bennett's manor, two servants are diligently packing Darjeeling leaves. However, Jamie is a bit skeptical if they're legit, which prompts her colleague to remind her that they simply need to ensure the tea is sent to Duke Chevelle, Count Maclean, and Sir Rayev by the end of the day. Jamie then inquires about the rumors of people being dragged to the basement, prompting her coworker to advise her to keep quiet. It's that Darjeeling thing again in the basement? Is Sir Zaddy Weeklinder there? Selonia is now reading Weeklinder's book, which is a personal record of information regarding magic circles. Before the invention of artifacts, sheepskin paper was used as a medium for magic. There are 3 instances in which a person's name and the magic circle are written together. Teleportation magic for moving between spaces, transmission magic for sending objects, and communication magic. This leads her to understand that Gileian's magical circle, which had Grace's name on it, indicates that he's indeed working for her. She then decides to set a trap to catch Gileian to confirm whether her suspicion is correct. At that moment, Selonia thinks about who she can trust in the manor, and interestingly, Tan is the first person that pops into her head, which is why she ends up knocking on his door. When no one answers, she steps inside and finds the room empty. As she stands there, her eyes drift to the door that leads to the room where she once found him in pain, causing her concern. She opens the door, and to her surprise, he quickly pulls her in and whispers for her to be quiet, as he feels someone approaching. After a while, the door swings open and 2 maids enter the room. They discuss an item they need to place there and express urgency in leaving before the night beast returns. After they leave, Selonia hurriedly checks the bedside table drawer and is surprised to find some of her jewels inside, which means someone is setting a trap for Tan so he will get kicked out. Lubius immediately comes to mind, and she tells Tan that she will handle the situation. Gosh, so immature and dumb for a captain! That night, Selonia overhears the servants discussing a thief in the manor and learns that the maid's jewelry is missing. At that moment, Lubius enters the room, innocently asking about the commotion, but actually, Selonia has been anticipating his arrival. The Duke arrives as well, prompting Selly to share that it appears there's a thief in their manor. Lubius quickly suggests checking Tan's room, and when the servants discover something in the drawer, he flashes a sly smile, pointing the finger at Tan for stealing Selonia's jewels. He then proposes that they should punish him and send him away. However, when he realizes there's only 1 jewel in the drawer, he unconsciously mumbles that he instructed them to put everything in. The Duke hears him clearly and asks him to continue, making Lubius to get nervous and break into a sweat. Selly declares that what they found is the brooch she gave Tan, leaving her wondering how Lubius is aware of her belongings. Lubius definitely found himself in a tight spot, yet he still has the nerve to claim he is being framed by Tan, while our guy just appears so relaxed, stating he has no clue what Lubius is talking about. This makes Lubius more frustrated, and he tries to hit him, but Tan easily holds him back. The Duke then declares that Lubius will be removed as House Vaesen's commander, while Selly throws him a serious look, telling him that she gave him an opportunity to be loyal, but he blew it. That is what you get for being so stupid. Selly is out here doing her thing, helping Tan with his pain, but he's noticed she keeps dozing off while holding his hand. He thinks it's adorable, but he wishes she wouldn't get so tired. Honestly, I'm kind of worried that helping him is totally zapping her energy. So Lubius is making his way through the forest, gazing at the Vaesen mansion. He still feels that having always been by Selonia's side, he deserves to be first in her heart. He quietly mutters about Tan, calling him a dirty bastard, and just then, Tan appears, asking why Lubius is still hanging around the mansion. Lubius thinks he's got the perfect shot to take out Tan and snag Selonia for himself. But, oops, wrong move, dude. Tan surrounds him with fire. Lubius collapses to the ground, unable to move in front of the Demon King. But who knows what happens next? All I know is that this dumb guy will never be able to approach our girl. Selonia has been on the lookout for a new information guild, and today she finally found one, thanks to the freckled seaweed friend of Tan, Maxwell. The new guild is called Storm, and it's known as the top information guild in the underworld, making it a bit tricky to connect with them. However, thanks to Maxwell, they have a chance to meet them today. Maxwell leads them to a bustling market and arrives at a decent building that no one would ever suspect is the guild's office. As they wait, Tan spots something in Selly's hair and gently brushes it away for her. Their sweet moment is interrupted, though, when another charming man arrives, greeting her with a smile. Is he good or nah? 'Cause I'm totally ready to add you to my hot character list. As Selly chats privately with the guy, Maxwell takes the chance to strike up a conversation with Tan, asking him when he first fell in love with the lady. Maxwell's eyes light up as he eagerly awaits Tan's response, but Tan just replies that everyone loves Selly. This prompts Maxwell to clarify that he means love in the deeper sense, like feeling worried when they're apart and happy when they're together. This makes Tan go quiet, and he realizes that the fuzzy feelings he gets when he sees Selly are because he loves her. Maxwell and Ella are totally the ultimate wingmen. In the Storm office, Daniel Jackson warmly introduces himself as the head of the guild and understands that Selonia has come to him with a request to investigate something discreetly from her family. Selly takes a sip of her tea and asks if he's ready to lend a hand, prompting Daniel to respond with a confirming smirk. The ritual of the Holy Nights that required them to fast for 2 weeks has finally ended, which means Rayev is now out of the temple. He's holding the box of dessert that Grace gave him, excited to dig in, when he notices a carriage wheel rolling by, nearly hitting 2 young priestesses. He swiftly cuts it in half, rescuing the ladies as they express their apologies for breaking his box of cake. The cake inside is perfectly fine, so he decides to give it to them, trusting that Grace will understand. All of a sudden, he feels a wave of guilt for breaking his promise to Selonia, something he repented of during the ritual. His head starts to hurt, and he recalls Selonia smiling and offering him herbs. But all of that is interrupted when Grace comes running to him. She asks if he has tried the cake she gave him, and when she finds out that Rayev gave it to some priest, her mood changes, and she glares at the screen as if it's our fault. Girl, don't look at us, you're the creepy one. Bet she's spiking the food to totally mess with the male leads' heads. Back to Selly. After her discussion, she walks down and laughs a little as she sees Tan waiting for her so patiently. They are just about to reach the carriage when they discover the 2 priestesses, with one of them lying on the floor unconscious. Selly asks Maxwell to take them somewhere private so she can check on the child Emily. She finds out that Emily had some bread, and when she sees what kind it is, she quickly covers her nose because it has a really strong smell. Tan can also smell it, but Maxwell and the priestess say it just smells delicious. All of a sudden, Emily sits up with a hazy look and exclaims that she has to meet Grace, her absolute favorite person. Selonia senses that something isn't quite right, so she asks Emily to focus on her voice as she inquires about who provided the bread. Fortunately, Emily can still respond and says it was a holy night, leading Selly to believe it was Rayev. She then asks Emily if the holy knight has blue hair, which the child confirms. We are finally getting somewhere. The suspect? She's back home biting her thumb when Gale, her secret assassin, appears. He adds that he searched the temple several times but was unable to locate the box of dessert or any youngster showing symptoms, prompting Grace to break her vase and order Gale to search again until he finds leads. She also tells him to dispose of any evidence as she sits in her chair, hoping that nothing awful will happen. Gross! I see her like I see cockroaches. Selonia is smart and this leads her to suspect that the male lead's abandonment of her is not solely due to a change of heart, but rather that someone is influencing them. To prove her assumption, she asks Emily if she's ever met Grace, prompting the child to respond that she hasn't, but that she needs to see her. Emily then stands up, excited to meet Grace, but as Sally takes her hand, she stops, leading Sally to believe that perhaps her healing abilities would work on her. Our girl is having difficulty using her healing powers, which worries her because she's never been like this before, when she had no trouble treating 3 guys on the expedition. Still, Sally's hard effort pays off today, as Emily returns to normal, and when Sally mentions Grace, the small girl seems confused. This time, Sally is totally convinced that Grace is up to something shady, and she's got to get to the bottom of it. Yes, the secret is finally out! They are now in the carriage, and Ton realizes that Sally appears exhausted, so he gently pulls her closer, saying she can lean on him, which causes our girl to blush. When they arrive at the estate, Ton carries the sleeping Selonia in his arms, but the Duke's attendant, Galloway, demands that he hand over the lady to him as per the Duke's orders. Thankfully, Ella is there to calm Ton, assuring him that she'll be with her lady the entire time, leaving him with no choice but to let his girl go to another man's arm. As he watches them leave, Mr. Demon King begins to consider killing Galloway, but soon dismisses the idea since he knows that if he does, Sally would never smile at him again because she loves and cares for the weak. Love it when bad guys change for their girl. Today, Trader Gileian reports to Selonia on Grace's everyday routine, and as he prepares to depart, Ella enters the room to inform Sally that the book she's looking for is now available. Ella goes on to tell her that it is at the Blorant store in the Magic District, which draws Gileian's interest as he leaves the room. Sally compliments Ella for her acting as soon as he leaves because they've just pulled off a clever trap to catch him. Gileian is such a waste of character design. Sally is reading a book about dark magic and discovers that everything associated with ancient magic has vanished. Thus, she has no idea how Grace is using dark magic to control the minds of the male leads. The hint she has now is that it works on Maclean, a dragon, but not on Ton, the Demon King, and that it may be countered with her healing powers. She needs evidence to prove Grace's evil deeds, but now that she thinks about it, if the male leads were truly controlled, she starts to wonder if she should find it in her heart to forgive them for what they did. I mean, the magic made them love Grace, but I don't think that means they should be so harsh on Sally, right? They mess with my girl so hard that even if the truth drops, I might still be done with them. Sally groans, her head spinning like crazy, and she forgets Ton is beside her in the library. She is certain that he must have been bored, but Ton smiles, claiming that time flew quickly while he was watching her, making Sally so red. All that romance novel pays off. They are now in the carriage on their way to the Blorant store, and Sally is hoping to see Gileian. Ton notices that her mind is drifting away, so he decides to hold her hand, which causes Sally to become concerned that he's in pain. However, Mr. Honest leans closer, saying that he merely wants to hold her hand. But Sally can't take it to heart since she's too embarrassed, especially because Ella is also in the carriage. As the captain of the ship, Ella totally deserves the front seat. Suddenly, the carriage wobbles, and Ella takes the chance to step outside and see what's going on, allowing the two some time together. As soon as she steps out of the carriage, Sally gently tells Ton that he can't hold her hand in public, which makes my boy look a bit down, wondering if it's because of his commoner status. Look at this sweetheart asking her if he has a title, will he be granted permission to hold her hand in public? Sir, you already have a lot. Boyfie, fiancé, or hubby, just pick one. Anyway, Sally is taken aback and recognizes Ton's stare right now means he wants something really badly, so she chooses to make an excuse not to respond by exiting the carriage to see what's going on. Ma'am, just take his hand and kiss. Sally is flushed from her cheeks to her ears, wondering where Ton learned such moves. But she quickly returns to serious mode when Ella informs them that they are unable to go because a tree has fallen in the road. Hello? This is easy peasy for my guy here. And as soon as he hears the situation, he effortlessly carries the entire tree, clearing the path. There is another carriage on the opposite side of the blocked road, and they are the demons looking for Ton. The Duke thanks Sally for clearing the road, and the old man introduces himself as Eos Hirschbrook, Archduke of the Northern Border. Sally introduces herself and nudges Ton to do the same, surprising them both as they stand before their king. For now, they try to stay calm and allow their king to leave. Kelvin is baffled as to why their king failed to recognize them earlier, While Eos attempts to connect the dots and learns from the newspaper that the Night Beast, who saved many people, has lost his memory, implying that their king has no memories of them. Losing memories and being brainwashed are ways to reveal a person's true personality. So, the way Tan helps others despite having amnesia makes me wonder if he was truly evil before. Eos also recognizes Selonia as one of the saviors who murdered their king, but what's worse is that he can sense their king's energy from her. Maybe it was transferred to Selly while she was healing him? Anyway, our leads have finally arrived in Blorence, and this store is actually managed by Selly to look like an actual store, with Maxwell pretending to be the owner. The person who set fire to Weeklinder's store will undoubtedly return tonight to burn down the building in order to prevent Selly from knowing the truth about Grace. It will be a tough night, so they have made sure that the nearby stores are already closed for the day, and Selly has also instructed Maxwell to return home. Before leaving, Maxwell presents Selly with a recording sphere, hoping that it will help her, which she greatly appreciates. The Magic District is now perfectly quiet, so their mission starts with Tan and Selly hiding inside. After a short while, a man in a cloak walks into the store and starts rummaging through everything in search of the book. This prompts Selly to reveal herself and call out the man's name, Gileian. Selly is now sure that he is the one who started the fire at Weeklinder's store and caused the owner's death before she confronted him for deceiving her, and that she is aware of who he's working for. Gileian walks closer to her, prompting Selly to aim her dagger at his throat. However, the dagger is swiftly tossed aside as he grabs her hand and declares that he's going to show what happens to ladies who wander alone at night. Wait, is he really saying what I think he's saying? Ugh, what a total weirdo! Tan is totally gonna slaughter you tonight! Our guy pops up behind Gileian and throws his arm around this gross traitor to silence him before making him sit restrained with a rope. Selly finds a sheepskin paper with a magic circle from Gileian and discovers that it is a communication spell. When she finds out that Gileian has always been working for Grace, she feels relieved because it means he's not being controlled, which also means she can totally hold him responsible for his actions. She then asks why he killed Mr. Weeklinder when he could have just stolen the book and left, which leads him to admit that the old man saw his face, so he simply got rid of the witness. After that, Selly couldn't get anything more from Gileian, and with Ella, who has called the guards, set to arrive soon, she decides to leave Gileian tied up with the evidence of his crimes recorded on the sphere. Our girl looks at the man with concern, thinking he might try to escape when they leave, so she asks Tan to help keep Gileian still. Tan, a simple-minded Pookie, punches Gileian in the head like it's a button to make him sleep. He is low-key hilarious without even trying. The following day, Selly shares with her father that the suspect in the arson and murder case is Gileian. It hasn't been long since Selly recovered, so her father is concerned that she did something so dangerous without telling him. The Duke says he will take care of Gileian himself and find her another trustworthy informant who can assist her, but she declines, knowing her father is busy. She leaves the room and senses something strange about her father, but her thoughts are interrupted as Ella announces Tan's arrival. Tan got out of the carriage on their way home last night, so when she sees him today, she worries that something happened. But she is surprised when he asks about her impression of the Demon King. The thing is, Tan suspected someone was following them last night, so he jumped off the carriage to investigate, only to be surprised when he discovered the two nobles, or should I say devoted demons they had met earlier. Eos declares Tan to be their king, and Kelvin attempted to hug him before they properly bowed before the king of all monsters, the great demon lord, Leonhard Kilranus. He has an incredibly gorgeous name for a demon king. His servants urged him to return to his castle, believing that doing so would result in the recovery of his memories and unstable power. Tan had heard that Selly killed the Demon King, which is why she had the title Savior. But it doesn't matter to him anymore. All he cares about is if Selly hates him, the Demon King. Okay, nice start. He seems chill about the truth. She gives a super vague answer, saying that it's not that simple, then grabs his hand and calls him by the name she made up for him. Gileian appears to be in an underground prison, kneeling in front of two strange men wearing hoods. Gileian addresses one of them as Master and says that Tan is no ordinary man before apologizing and asking for another chance. His master demands him to bring him another offering or he will kill him, and Gileian agrees. We're still trying to figure out what their goal might be. Today is Selonia's celebratory party, which will be hosted by the imperial family, but she seems uncertain because she doesn't have a partner. She learned from the maids that there were request letters for her, but they were all burned to ashes before they reached her. Selly can tell that this is all Tan's doing, But just thinking about him makes her sad because she has noticed that seeing him has become difficult recently. She'll be home late because of the banquet, and just the thought of not seeing him tonight again makes her look a bit disappointed. Aw, I miss your man too. Respectfully. Meanwhile, the Emperor and Crown Prince are inspecting the banquet's final preparations, and it appears that the Emperor is going to such lengths to publicly announce that the imperial family is considering Selonia as the Crown Princess. The Emperor hears that Selonia's partner will only be her father, so he orders the Crown Prince to use the opportunity to escort the lady, which the Crown Prince gladly accepts. Handsome? Check. Eyelashes? Check. Do I want him near Selly? Heck no! The Crown Prince, Helios, is aware that Selonia has a nasty temper, which is right if we're talking about the actual one, but he also witnessed her trembling in fear during this ceremony before the expedition. According to his aide, the Visane family has not yet come, so he wants to have some fun first, knowing that even if he arrives late, Selly will fall for his charms. The party has begun, and Selonia looks stunning as always. Many nobles go on to shower her with bouquets and congratulate her, which is starting to overwhelm her. The ladies Selly has previously met approach her, and they settle down to chat, raving about her dress designed by Madame Veronde. But they are curious why the night beast, who's staying at her estate, is not with her to celebrate. Before Selly can respond, a Karen lady interrupts their talk and asks for Selly's permission to take the night beast and join him in her family's night order. But our girl smiles and refuses, claiming that the night beast will be joining Visane's night order soon. Look at our girl, looking all puzzled about why she just said that Tan will join their order. That's what we call jealousy, babe. She then hears the crowd talking about someone who just arrived and calling them shameless. Who else but this ugly couple, Ian and Grace? Love how the nobles are totally backing Selly, but why are they even invited? Wait, it's not just them. Gileian and Rayev are here too. Selly straight up says she's shocked to see them at her party, which makes the lizard dude tell Grace that Selly isn't even trying to patch things up. Grace just smiles, and it feels like she's here to tell Selly that, in the end, Madame Veronde still made her a dress. Grace mentions that the madam contacted her saying she has changed her mind and wants to make her a dress. Just then, Selly sways from a headache, prompting Rayev to catch her just in time. Our girl says she feels dizzy before agreeing with Grace that people can change their minds easily, but those words still sting a bit. You know, it's just like how Grace took all the male leads for herself. Rayev offers to take Selly somewhere quiet, while Gileian wonders if she's still feeling sick and hopes she won't overexert herself. Our girl just smiles and thanks them before walking away. Looks like Grace did not poison them well tonight, huh? The brainwashing is malfunctioning. The nobles are aware of the drama, and seeing how Grace is careless with her words only fuels their dislike for her, which frustrates her even more. In response, she decides to pretend to be dizzy around Ian, but to her surprise, Ian has already left her side. Selonia is now at the veranda, praising her own acting skills when Ian arrives, taking her hand and kissing it, while telling her she looks beautiful tonight. Ugh, the nerve of him! Look at him smiling cunningly, since the truth is that his heart still belongs to Grace, but he wants Selonia as his perfect trophy to improve his reputation. They will undoubtedly become the couple of the century, so he suggests that they start anew. But he refuses to let go of Grace, so he intends to make Grace his mistress and Selly his wife. Does he truly believe any lady will accept such a proposal? The brainwashing got him all obsessed with Grace, but honestly, this crappy mindset is totally on him. And boy, you stink! Selonia takes his hand right away and feels a little shiver at the thought of becoming Ian's wife. But this guy is just so full of himself, claiming that he knows Selly still likes him and only brings another man around to get his attention. Selly, plain and simple, tells Ian she's never loved him, not even a single time. When she first found herself in this novel world, she thought it would be best to stick to the original plot. Having always been alone, she didn't think much of it when Ian, the male lead, reached out to her, believing that she would eventually find her happy ending. But she's over living that pre-planned life, and Tan pops into her head immediately. When he hears Selly reject him, it really frustrates him, and he starts to think that her actions are influenced by the Night Beast. He yells at her, which leads her to slap him hard to snap him out of his delulu thoughts. Despite this, Ian continues to violently hold Selly, thinking that she might start listening to him if he kills Tan, all the while Selly is in pain from his hands. Out of nowhere, someone appears from behind and hits Ian with such force that he flies to the corner. furious at Ian for touching Selly. Hearing that familiar voice makes Selly feel all the emotions, and when she finally turns around, it's Tan coming to her rescue just like he always does. Selly can feel her heart racing, but that sweet moment will have to wait because Ian is now getting up. They can't afford to cause a scene, so she asks Tan to leave for now, but this guy is just not calming down and really wants to finish Ian off. Ian raises his voice and approaches them, while Selly does her best to stop them, though it seems to be in vain, until they hear the announcement that the Emperor and the Empress have arrived. Meanwhile, Grace totally loses it again, smashing another vase, and expresses her frustration to the mysterious guy, saying she can't handle how people are treating her any longer. She mentions that the drug isn't working as well anymore since Ian has been acting a bit strange lately. This prompts the mysterious guy to gently wipe away her tears and remind her that overdosing the men could lead to side effects. Grace softly expresses that her situation is becoming difficult, leading the man to reassure her that he will soon restore everything to how it used to be. It looks like brainwashing is just the beginning. There's some seriously dark stuff going on. Back at the party, Selly's name is being announced, which means it's time for her to head inside. However, she can't leave these two men to fight while she's away, so she decides to bring Tan along, asking him to remain quiet. Selonia gracefully bows before the Emperor and the Empress, exchanging greetings that bring her relief, as it indicates they'll be leaving soon, since they don't stay at banquets like this. The Empress heads out first, but oh no, the Emperor becomes curious about the guy beside her, leaving Selly a bit unsure about how to introduce Tan. Out of the blue, Ias, the Duke of the North, steps in and introduces Tan as his heir, leaving Selly and everyone else in the room quite surprised. Selly wants to speak with Tan about this, but our guy steps forward and formally presents himself as Tan Hirschbrook to the Emperor. Oh man, he decided to stick with the name Tan instead of Leonhardt? He's really in love. The Emperor is happily observing the future Archduke and Duke Chevelle together, feeling excited about this year's hunting competition. Every year, Ian takes home the win, but this time he believes Tan could be a strong contender. The reason why Tan has been quite busy lately is because they were preparing for the papers. They're fortunate that Duke Ias never married and has no heir, which makes the process of making Tan his heir much easier. They have submitted the documents indicating that Ias has just discovered he was a son from a woman he met a long time ago. Tan was really intrigued about his identity and those lost memories, but after meeting Selonia, all he can think about is just wanting to be by her side. He totally snagged a title, so marriage is not even an issue now. Nobles begin to gather around Tan while Selonia is approached by Raev, who asks if they can have a chat. They head outside, and Selly feels a sense of relief that Mr. Holy Knight can now greet her without being rude, which leads him to apologize. She decides to speak with him to ask about the cake, mentioning that Emily ate it and then fainted on the street. Raev confirms that he gave Emily the cake that Grace made for him, but his tone shifts as it seems like Selly is trying to frame Grace. He walks closer to her and reminds her that after she said something hurtful to Grace earlier, she cried and tried to hide it. Well, duh! Selly also reminds him that he's at a party organized for her, so it would be great if he could act nicely. But instead, he glares at her, saying she faked being in pain earlier to hurt Grace. He then asks her if she's doing this because she's jealous that they chose Grace over her before yelling about her inferiority issue. Again, brainwashing does not justify such behavior. Tan shows up, swiftly picking Raev up off the ground and letting Selly know that he's ready to follow her lead. Tan will let Raev go if that's what she wants, which makes her pause for a moment before she gathers her thoughts and firmly states that she will never allow Raev to speak impolitely to her again, causing Tan to smile at her proudly. Time has gone by, and Raev is now on the ground after taking some hits from Tan. Selly walks over to Raev, saying that his words will leave a lasting scar on her. As she taps into her healing power, she can't help but wonder how he will react when he eventually learns the truth. Memories with Selonia during the expedition start to come to mind, and he finally breaks free from the mind control, leading him to feel a sense of regret for being rude to her. His voice softens as he calls Selly, but he pauses when he sees her cold expression, which he knows he deserves. He apologizes, saying he didn't mean any of what he said earlier while kneeling, but Selly just asks what Grace is feeding him that makes him follow her. Raev is quite surprised to discover that he's been influenced by some sorcery, and now that he reflects on it, he realizes that Grace has been sharing Darjeeling tea with the three of them. Upon discovering this, Selly feels there's no reason to continue talking to him, so she turns away and advises him not to accept any gifts from Grace. Rayev really doesn't want to wrap up the night this way, so he expresses to Sely that he is really crazy for letting his heart wander, but he begs her to realize that it's all due to mind control. Sely is feeling more unsure about which side of him is the real one, and thinks that she cannot trust him anymore. In response, Rayev promises to do his utmost to win her trust back. When he says he'll do anything for her, she smiles and turns to him, asking him to prove himself. Sely and Tan are walking together, but Tan sounds a bit dismayed about why Sely wants to keep Rayev close, prompting her to explain that she only wants to use him. He asks if she wants to reconnect with the three male leads, but nope, the damage is already done, and all she really wants now is to uncover the truth. Speaking of the truth, she asks him if his memories have come back, only to find out that he still doesn't remember anything. If he is truly the heir of the Duke, it means he doesn't have to stick with the name Tan. However, he really wants to keep it because it's the name she gave him, which makes her blush. He gently takes her hand and asks if he can do this now. Remember the customary greetings for nobles he learned? Yes, he can now kiss her hand. Getting a title just to hold her hand? Tan is such a green flag and a cutie pie. So much has been going on, yet the Crown Prince is just here having fun flirting with a lady. When his aide Denvers arrives to let him know that the Emperor is waiting, this playboy has to make his appearance at the banquet just as Sely returns to the hall too. The Emperor asks him to put on a dance song, but just before Helios gets his chance to ask Sely, Tan, my boy, already invites her for a dance. He leads their dance with charm and unexpectedly throws out a cheesy line that if for the Emperor she is the star of the banquet, for him she's the perfect start of his world, making Sely's heart race again. She leans forward and whispers that he too shines like a star tonight, making him so excited that he embraces her little frame in his arms. I thought this was a kiss, but sorry guys, that's just them hugging. Sely playfully nudges him away, saying that he's crushing her, and they both share a warm, loving smile with each other. So here I am, jealous over someone else's relationship. It looks like there's one more annoying character to meet before this party wraps up, and that's the Imperial Princess, Titania. She instantly falls for Tan and excitedly declares that she wants to marry him. Darling, go play with your toys. 2 days have passed since the party, and the news of Tan being Duke Hirschbrook's hidden son quickly gained popularity. Now that Tan has a title, he has moved out of House Vaesen and is staying at the Hirschbrook house in the capital. Aside from that, nothing changes. Tan still appears every midnight and always follows her wherever she goes, exactly like today. Tan informs Sely that her father is starting a business that will relocate people from the slums to a new building, and because he's familiar with the slum residents, he's been requested to speak with them to gain their cooperation. When Sely arrives at the guild, Daniel shows her a few documents and learns that House Bennett is ordering Darjeeling in such enormous quantities that it raises suspicions. House Bennett began ordering an excessive amount of Darjeeling around the time of the victory ceremony, which is when Sely collapsed. Daniel adds that for a family that just manages a little mine, they're spending 5 times as much, and this started approximately 10 months ago, which shocks Sely because this is when she transmigrated into Selonia's body. There's more. Daniel has heard rumors that screams can be heard from the basement of House Bennett, but his men are unable to investigate because of the tight security. If they're doing any dark magic stuff, he informs her that life must be sacrificed to carry them out. After their meeting, Sely meets Tan, who quickly takes her hand, and she's pleasantly surprised at how much she wants to hold on. She feels anxious about whether she can handle his anger when his memories return, but then he unexpectedly releases her to look for Rayev, who's tucked away in an alley. They decide to go to Hirschbrook Manor so no one can see them, and Rayev explains that he isn't spying on Sely, but rather wants to inform her of something. He explains that after completing the holy ritual, memories of her began to appear but faded when Grace fed him bread, leading him to speculate that the holy water at the temple may be able to wash away the mind control. The problem is that the temple produces just enough holy water to meet demand, but when he kneels before her, he promises to acquire some for her. Tan throws a fork at Rayev, scratching his cheek, and instructs him to leave, but Maxwell arrives just in time to prevent any trouble. It appears that the Seaweed Kid is now working for Duke Hirschbrook, and he has come to deliver another imperial letter to Tan. Our guy has no interest and is simply cutting the steak for his girl when the owner of the letter, Princess Titania, appears. This little girl is obviously upset that Sely is here, so she claims that she has received permission from the Emperor to marry Tan. Titania tells Tan to show her around, which irritates Tan, but Sely holds his suit and smiles, asking him to go because she will wait. Tan listens to what she says and kisses the back of her hand before leaving. What's up with this kid? Go learn multiplication first. And that's it for today, guys. What did you think? As always, don't forget to like the video and comment for the next part so we know you want more. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for updates. See you in the next one!